Hello, and welcome to On Spec, the podcast that does slow journalism, the kind that takes time, telling stories that make you think, feel, and act to do good beyond your own borders. My name is Nafisa Haji, and I'm your guest host for this season of Lethal Dissent, Iran's hunt for its citizens abroad. In our last episode, Verdict, we learned the outcome of the trial on espionage and the attempted kidnapping of Mohammad Rezai. There were convictions and sentences to sort through. And then, one of those convicted, Ihsan Salam, did something shocking. He contacted Fariba, making threats against her and this investigation. This week, Fariba tries to assess the danger of Salam's threats against her, and she and her producer, Chris Harlan-Dunaway, explore the implications of global espionage at the highest levels. Who's accountable for protecting these dissidents? Join me as we tune in with Fariba in Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad, Episode 8, Officials.
Breaking news. Okay, we're on. Okay. All right, guys. Ihsan Salam called me today, and I'm a little spooked. He is threatening to take me to the prosecutor's office. I don't know which prosecutor.
This is what Ihsan messaged me. What's wrong with you? Are you trying to ruin my reputation? I'll take you to the prosecutor. Initially, I wasn't sure how serious this was, how serious Ihsan was.
Bilinci Türk olan, aklı Türk olan, ruhu Türk olan benim milletim küllerinden doğmayı başarmıştır.
This is Ihsan Salam giving a nationalist speech at a conference of Turkic countries. He's wearing a black suit, long beard, and delivers his words forcefully. As I thought about what he said to me and consulted colleagues and friends, it became clear. His messages are the dictionary definition of a veiled threat. They vaguely imply some kind of damage if I follow through with my reporting. There are certain history lessons that stay with you if you're a journalist in Turkey. In 1993, Uğur Mumcu was Turkey's most famous investigative journalist. He reported on organized crime and dirty intelligence operations. He was threatened routinely. Then on a winter morning, he left his house, got in his car, and it exploded. A C4 plastic bomb was inside. His 2 children, now grown, visit the spot every year and lay flowers. I'm thinking about my own safety now. I tell my reporting partner, Betty Leski, about Ihsan's message. She calls me.
Okay.
He said he wanted to take you to the prosecutor?
Yeah, he told me he wants to take me to the prosecutor.
That's a problem, because that's what happened to me with the Time story. The guy was like, I'm going to report you to the police, and he did report me.
Betty's reported for the New York Times, and she's been through threats like this before. In Turkey, people use lawsuits to jail reporters. I'm worried Ihsan might try that.
What should we do? They can't. I mean, I'm just doing my job. My job.
He can, but there's nothing, like, you're registered with the İletişim Başkanlığı.
She's talking about how I'm licensed by the Turkish government to be a journalist. I have a press card and renew it every year. It should keep me safe. I feel somewhat reassured.
But I shouldn't be scared of this prosecutor's thing, right?
No, I mean, even if they do, you can just go and be like, this is what I'm doing. But
she tells me if the authorities reach out, we can hire a lawyer to advise us. I tell the guards at my apartment building what's going on. I decide to get some fresh air and go to a nearby cafe. I sent my producer, Chris, a voice message about what happened next.
And as soon as I stepped out with my laptop, at the gate of my building, there are 2 police officers.
To me, the cops are a bad sign. I'm thinking, okay, Ihsan did report me. Ihsan also has connections with Turkish police. So they no longer felt safe. So I see these cops.
And I just stayed calm. I was like, all right, let's go. Who are these guys? And they were looking for me. Ooh. And they said, are you Fariba Nawa? And I was like, oh, who are you guys? Do you have your badges? And they show me their badges. And they're like, we are here doing a routine checkup to see foreigners' ID cards. Because, there's a lot of undocumented people in Istanbul now. And I looked at them. I was like, okay, here's what do you need to know? So then the guys asked me, do you live with your kids? And I'm like, who are you? Why are you asking these questions?
One of the guards from my apartment building who knows what's going on walks up.
And then the guard told me, these guys are local police. It's okay, Fariba. Because the guard knows now We have 3-4 guards. They've all been informed of the situation with Ihsan Salam. So then these guys are like, why are you so scared? And I said, this is what's happening. And I told them. And I said, okay, guys, if you're local police, I need you to know that I don't feel safe right now. And this is the guy coming after me. So they're like, oh, okay, we're here for you. We're just around the corner. Here's my name. Here's my number. If anything happens, call me. We understand. And I said, go in the Turkish media and read about this guy so you understand.
I seek more guidance. I go back to the Turkish member of parliament I'm in touch with, Ceylan Akça. She told me about the conspiracy behind the kidnapping operation last episode. She's been threatened many times for her work in parliament. I have a simple question about Ihsan's message.
His threat to me was, I'm going to take you to the prosecutor. What do you think of that? Should I be scared?
Yeah, I think you should be a little bit scared because this man is not just a simple man. He kidnaps people, he travels through continents, he engages in intelligence activities with different regimes. He is in defense industry. He is linked with one of the most criminal organizations in the country. I think you should be a little bit scared.
What do you think I should do?
I would make it very public that he contacted you and he threatened you, and that if anything was to happen to you, it would be the responsibility of him and the authorities that took no action to protect you.
My producer, Chris, got in touch with Ihsan about her reporting. They messaged each other. It didn't go well.
So I offered him an interview so he could hear his side of the story.
That's Chris.
He says things like, if my name is mentioned anywhere, be sure that I'll report you to justice. And this one, he goes, you're a young person. I warn you over and over again. And if my name appears in any article, then I will fight with you before the law and win these cases. And then there's this simple one. I seriously warn you. And it goes on and on like this. It's 18 variations of this during our conversation.
Later, Chris sent a list of all the assertions that appear about Ihsan in this series, so he could respond if he wanted. Chris made it clear we'd talk about Ihsan's veiled threat against me. His reply? I don't care. Attention for my name. Ihsan's threats aren't overt, but I feel unsafe. It feels like a hint of what it must be like for Iranian dissidents who are targeted in Turkey. I'm thinking of Mohammad Shabani, the dissident poet whose death I'm investigating. He was repeatedly threatened by the Iranian regime. He ended up dead. I think of Rizai, the former Navy captain who was threatened by Iranian embassy officials inside Turkey, then almost kidnapped. And now Ihsan, who was convicted of working for Iran and trying to kidnap Rizai, wasn't in prison. He was mostly free and threatening me. This seems like impunity. So I asked Ceylan Akça, the Turkish member of parliament, what she thinks will happen.
Do you think Iran will continue to do things like kidnap dissidents in Turkey?
Definitely. I think Iran will not stop going after dissidents because that's how the regime continues to unleash its fear campaign on dissidents and to give them the feeling that wherever they go, they will not be free or safe, and that these operations also serve that purpose.
I want to know if anyone is going to intervene or try to. I want to know if the Turkish government has a plan. I hope to interview them, but they won't talk to us. Ceylan Akça tells me she'll take care of that. She has a plan. Every year, Parliament has budget meetings. The most senior government ministers come ask for money to run the government. Every lawmaker gets 5 minutes to ask questions. Ceylan says, give me your questions. I'll ask them. There's a meeting coming up on the calendar. Turkey's foreign minister will be there. He's the top diplomat in the country, kind of like the U.S. Secretary of State. Turkey's foreign minister is Hakan Fidan. In light of the damning revelations about Iran's hunt for dissidents on Turkish soil, Ceylan wants to know if Hakan Fidan is doing anything about it.
So this question had to be asked to him directly because there's just too many lines to connect.
There are a lot of lines to connect when it comes to Hakan Fidan for sure. He's only been foreign minister for a year. But who was he before that? A spy master. He was the head of Turkish intelligence for 13 years. Turkey's president calls Hakan Fidan my secret keeper.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome Foreign Minister Fidan, my friend Hakan, here to the State Department, to Washington.
That's U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who seems to have a strong working relationship with Hakan Fidan.
With that, Hakan, welcome.
Well, thank you, Tony. I'd like to start by thanking to Secretary Blinken and his team for...
But the U.S. isn't the only player Hakan Fidan seems to have sway with. In spring 2024, Iran fired hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken already knew it was coming. According to Reuters, Iran gave the U.S. a heads up, hoping to de-escalate the crisis. Iran's forewarning to the U.S. was delivered through a trusted intermediary, Hakan Fidan. Hakan Fidan's relationship with Iran isn't necessarily sinister, but he's definitely the right guy to grill about Iranian intelligence chasing dissidents in Turkey. I want to know what he plans to do about it. The day of the meeting arrives. Jalen is sitting in the hearing room. She sent me a video of herself at the meeting. Jalen takes off her glasses, folds them, and places them beside her. Her expression is fierce, a little impatient. Hakan Fidan is there, in person. He looks distinguished. He's got short, neatly combed gray hair and a gray beard, but his mustache is dark black. Jalen's waiting for a little red light on her microphone to turn on. When it does, it's time to go.
İran Nizami Ordusu'nun askeri istihbaratının dış operasyonlar birimi yetkilisi Seyit Mehdi'nin Türkiye'de...
And I had 5 minutes to raise questions, so I had to speak really fast.
İhsan Sağlam ve Cumhuriyet Savcısı Davut Yılmaz aracılığıyla burada bulunan rejim muhaliflerinin tespiti ve kaçırılması için...
She's ripping through questions so fast. She sounds like a cattle auctioneer from the American South.
Bununla ilgili İran'a diplomatik olarak nasıl notalar...
I said, Mr. Fidan, did you have any diplomatic interactions with Iran in regards to this case? Because this is a violation of Turkey's sovereignty. If they are operating this way, you should have some, diplomatic warnings.
İran, Türkiye'den son 5 yılda kaç kişinin iadesini talep etmiştir? Bu iadeleri hangi suçlamalarıyla yapmıştır?
Jalen has a strategy for asking Hakan Fidan questions at this budget meeting. There are rules about each question.
İngiltere ile ilgili bir sorun var. Biliyorsunuz IŞİD'in kamera yüzü olan 4 kişi vardı. Beatles diyorlardı onlara. Beatles üyelerinden biri Türkiye'de cezaevindeydi.
He would have to open that question. He would have to give me a long summary of what they have done. So with this question, I had covered all corners.
Then something interesting happens.
So Fidan, who was sitting in one position the whole meeting for several hours, staring at one location, suddenly turned. His body was completely stable, but only his head turned, and he just let out this very awkward smile and started staring.
Then the objections start.
They just completely shut me down, started calling me terrorist, stopping me from speaking, stopping me from asking questions.
But she plows through, raising her voice. The microphone is still on.
But I still continued to speak as my microphone was on. That meant that everything I said went into the minutes.
Now, there is a permanent parliamentary record of all her questions that were apparently so troubling. But Hakan Fidan's smile, what was that about?
I don't know. I think he sort of maybe implied that I knew the answer to that Turkey did not make a diplomatic fuss about it, that Turkey didn't make a big deal out of it, and that he would not respond to that question.
Except he has to respond. It's in the regulations. When Jalen's mic turned off, there was a reason why she kept asking questions.
We have these stenographs who record everything we say, so there's also the text of our speech at the end of the meeting. So there's no way that they could avoid answering. These ministers are obligated to respond in a week.
In 1 week?
In 1 week after the questions are submitted orally.
It's been almost a year since Jalen asked her questions. Hakan Fidan has not replied. The reality, though, is thousands of questions like Jalen's go unanswered in Turkish parliament every year. Jalen thinks Hakan Fidan won't reply because he doesn't want to openly acknowledge what's true about Iranian intelligence.
they freely operate in Turkey without fearing any repercussions.
If that's true, Iranian dissidents are at greater risk in Turkey than in a lot of other countries. But there are already thousands of them here. They register with Turkey's immigration department, and then the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR for short, helps process their asylum cases. I want to know more about what UNHCR is doing when it comes to threats against Iranian dissidents. The kidnapping operation I've been reporting on gained access to a database that contains every Iranian refugee's home address in Turkey. I asked Celine Unal, a spokesperson for UNHCR Turkey, if they're aware.
I can't speak about a specific case. It's beyond our, confidentiality, rules and regulations. I'm not in a situation to speak or comment on a, specific case.
The database of refugees was exposed to a criminal gang trying to kidnap Iranian dissidents. In a situation like that, what can the UN do?
Well, the physical safety and security of refugees and asylum seekers in Turkish territory falls under the responsibility of the Turkish authorities. However, we are not in a position, as I told you, to discuss details of any individual cases, and I cannot speculate on the veracity of the allegations or any decisions by a law court case.
I mean, I guess the simple question is, are Iranians safe in Turkey?
Are Iranians safe in Turkey? Is this the question?
Celine Unal goes on to explain that every refugee in the UN system is treated the same, regardless of where they come from.
And there's no discrimination depending on their nationality. I hope it's clear for your question.
Celine Unal told me Iranian dissidents' physical safety is the responsibility of the Turkish authorities. But when Ceylan asked Turkey's foreign minister if he'd confront Iran about their operations against dissidents, he smiled and has so far ignored her questions. When people in the UN refugee system are especially at risk, they're sometimes labeled vulnerable by the agency. If that happens, they qualify for extra protections, which on rare occasions means they get resettled in another country. So I look abroad. The United States is Iran's nemesis. I imagine they might have some interest in helping these dissidents. I want to know what they're doing. My producer, Chris, goes to Washington, D.C.
Okay, stepping inside the State Department.
The U.S. State Department is the headquarters for American diplomacy. The lobby has shiny black floors and a kaleidoscope of different countries' flags hang above. Chris meets a press officer who will chaperone him to our interview with his boss. He seems a little stressed.
Is it a full gas Friday? Just like thing after thing?
Every day is thing after thing. You're the press officer for Iran every day.
His boss is the U.S. Deputy Special Envoy to Iran, Abram Paley.
Okay. I will go through here, apparently. Thank you.
We'll get 8 minutes on the record with him. Yes, that's a short interview. It's also somewhat standard, apparently. Chris steps into a conference room with a big wooden table and a big American flag in the corner. I'm joining over video. Deputy Special Envoy Paley comes in, sits down, and we start. There are all these reports of Iranian dissidents abroad who are getting kidnapped and killed. And our story documents this, particularly in Turkey. What is the U.S. doing to protect them?
We're working to share threat information with partners. We're also working to share threat information directly to those individuals and communities that are most affected by this.
I mean, how is Iran able to carry out these kidnappings and killings with so much impunity?
This is something that the world needs to be aware of. And so only by shining the spotlight and continuing to develop the tools that we have to share best practices, but also to hold individuals and networks accountable through sanctions designations, through law enforcement actions, through multilateral action at the UN and other multilateral organizations, can we work to continue to address this threat together.
Is part of the problem that there's only so much you can do realistically at the end of the day to protect people? Like, it seems like it may not be feasible to have like a 24-hour security detail for a dissident in Turkey or somewhere else like that. Is that part of why it's hard to protect these dissidents?
In a limited number of cases, the United States has been able to move these individuals out of harm's way.
I press more on this. I point out that the U.S. spends huge amounts of money stationing their Navy in the Persian Gulf, maintaining troops next door to Iran and Iraq. Then there's intelligence operations, sanctions compliance, and generally countering Iran however they can. It's expensive. Resettling dissidents can't be that expensive by comparison. And the Iranian government's own actions against them show they believe these dissidents are an existential threat.
So over time, the United States has worked to resettle a variety of individuals through a variety of programs. I can't get into detail on those programs, but that is a focus of our efforts as well.
Deputy Special Envoy Paley made it sound like the U.S. is doing a lot. It's not always easy to see, so we looked into it. We learned through our reporting that the FBI and representatives from law enforcement agencies throughout the West get together regularly and compare threat information about Iran. And U.S. law enforcement has managed to foil plots against dissidents. In 2024, they arrested 2 Canadian hitmen. An Iranian gangster with ties to Iranian intelligence hired them to assassinate 2 Iranian dissidents living in Maryland. Meanwhile, in Turkey, dissidents remain unsafe. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan does not seem inclined to push the matter any further. We'd like to know what he thinks, but he didn't answer our questions. The kidnapping ring's hired hand on the ground, S05, threatened me. Had he talked about inflicting bodily harm, I'd have clear grounds to file a complaint to the authorities. That's what makes a veiled threat hard to confront. I'm still thinking about how to approach it. For now, I'm following Ceylan Akça's advice. I'm making Ehsan's threat public. But among the dissidents in this story, there's some good news. Recently, I got this message from Rezai, the dissident Navy captain.
سلام خانم فریبا، عرض ادب، خیلی مخلصیم، خوب هستین، سلامتی. ممنونم از شما. من خودم هم باور کنین.
He had news. His asylum application that had languished for years while he was in Turkey was suddenly approved. He says he's grateful that our investigation helped him get asylum after 7 years in Turkey. He's coming to the United States.
الو سلام چطوری خوبی؟
خوبی سلامتی سرون شما زنده باشی ممنونم.
چطورن زهره خانم؟
So did Mehdi Hajeti, another dissident who escaped to Turkey with his family after standing up to the regime. We talked on the phone.
چجوریه زندگی تو غربت؟
خوبه آره حالا غربت که دیگه برای ماها که یه شب مجبور شدیم از همه چی خداحافظی کنیم خب کم سخته ولی
The reason I called Mehdi was because I had some information about his close friend, Mohammed Shabani. Mohammed Shabani is the dissident poet who fell from a balcony to his death. After Mohammed died, investigators found a suicide note, but the police didn't analyze the handwriting.
این بچه‌ها از محمد احتمالاً دستخط دارن.
اگه دارن خیلی خوب میشه.
I was calling to ask Mehdi if he could send me other samples of Mohammed's writing to give to an independent handwriting analyst.
مهم نیست. نوشتن تو پرونده که ما تحلیلگر خط نداریم به فارسی که بتونیم این خط.
Mehdi was eager to know the results. We both waited. In that time, Mehdi had started a new life in the U.S. with his wife Zora. They enrolled their kids in school. They got jobs, worked hard, got an apartment, had their first East Coast winter. A few months later, the handwriting analysis was done.
After questioning officials on Iran's handling of dissidents abroad, Fariba Nawa circles back to the beginning of her investigation, to the 2 friends from Shiraz who shared a love of poetry. I am Nafisa Haji. Join us in 2 weeks as Fariba Nawa gets the results of the handwriting analysis that we've all been waiting for in Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad, Episode 9, The Note. This episode of On Spec, Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad, Episode 8, Officials, is reported by Fariba Nawa. Reporting in Turkey by Beril Eski. Additional reporting by John Klepotowski. The series is produced by Chris Harlan Dunaway. Editing by Devin Maverick Robbins and Ibi Caputo. Additional research by Umar Farouk. Fact-checking by Beril Eski and John Klepotowski. Özge Sebzeci is our photographer and multimedia producer. Artwork for the podcast is by Hatiye Garib. Musical score and sound design by Uzair Ahmed. Legal review by Eric Brass. I am your host, Nafisa Haji. This story would not be possible without the Pulitzer Center and Radio Zamaneh. Thank you to our partners, The Verge and PRX. Special thanks to executive producer for The World and GBH News, Dan Lothian, and executive editor for The World, Tinku Ray. Also, our friend ER, Shahnam Gulshani, Adnan Devrim, Damian Fitzpatrick, Hamish Brown, Jonah Heller, Kate Ellis, Stephen Smith, Levi Bridges, the JJs, Banu Azizian, Andisha Azizian, Javad Hassanzada, Rishad and Alan at Splice Media, and to the Iranians who helped us, whose full names we can't use for security reasons. Thank you, HM, AM, and MB.